समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
In his final press conference as Prime Minister on 3rd of January 2014, before India went into the election mode, Dr. Manmohan Singh had famously said that history will judge him more kindly than contemporary media and the opposition. Now, he's been waiting to find vindication or a kind of final vindication because he'd been charged with all kinds of things: 2G scam, coal scam, Commonwealth Games scam, Air India scam, Delhi airport privatization scam, other scam in Bombay, all kinds of scams. Everywhere he was the one who was, in popular opinion at that point or in a popular campaign, held guilty either for his sins of omission or commission, mostly for omission, not so much for commission, that he was not able to prevent this corruption. There was humongous corruption under his watch. That's the reason that Prime Minister Modi also said कि डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को रेनकोट पहन के नहाना भी आता है, that he knows how to get under the shower wearing a raincoat so nothing will fall on him. Now, he waited for vindication. That vindication has now come 2 years after he passed away. This came earlier this week in the Supreme Court of India when looking at one of the major coal mine allocation cases, Talabira 2. Talabira 2 is a large coal mine in what is called as Odisha. The court set aside the case and the court said, Supreme Court said, the apex court said, and it's a 3-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Justice Suryakant, including Justice Joy Mallya Bagchi and Justice V. Mohana. The bench said, and I'm quoting, "We are satisfied there was no reason for the learned judge to turn down the closure reports of the CBI and take cognizance." What do they mean? What exactly happened here? We have to understand. In 2014, this was not under Manmohan Singh government. Remember, Manmohan Singh it is who had instituted the CBI inquiry into what was then seen as the coal scam. At that point, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, CAG, who happily added zeros to many things, also ruled that coal scam amounted to a loss of 1,86,000 crores. Notionally so. For 2G, he had said 1,76,000. So to get bigger headlines, he had to make it more than that. It became 1,86,000. I will get into the intricacies of that as well as we go along. However, the CBI in 2014, twice in 2014, and not when Dr. Manmohan Singh was in power. That's why I underline the fact that he had ordered the CBI inquiry, and now the CBI under Modi government filed a closure report in the trial court. The trial court was a special CBI court. They filed a report on 27th of August 2014 saying there was no case and the case should be closed. The judge, Bharat Parashar, did not like it. He said, no, you look for more evidence. You haven't done your job well enough. So CBI went back and they came back on 21st of October 2014 in the Modi government and once again said there is no need to continue with the case should be closed. The CBI said the evidence they had did not justify prosecution, but judge rejected this, asked for further investigation and summoned Dr. Manmohan Singh in March 2015. That's when Dr. Manmohan Singh went to Supreme Court of India and got a stay. Now you might ask me, how come he went straight from trial court to Supreme Court of India? Did he get a special privilege being a former Prime Minister? No. That is something that the Supreme Court itself had done by way of, let me say, by way of short-circuiting, or maybe short-circuiting is not so apt, by way of finding a shortcut. Because they, riding on the national anger over these scams, Supreme Court, two different benches, in cases concerning, I'm putting quote marks whenever I say scam, with the coal scam and the 2G scam had said that trial in a way will be supervised by the Supreme Court of India, and any appeals against the trial or the outcome of the trial or anybody demanding any redressal or justice will come straight to the Supreme Court. So they took away the appellate power of the High Court. That is the reason Dr. Manmohan Singh went to Supreme Court, and that is the reason also that Supreme Court has now ruled on this, saying that there was no scandal in this case and this case is infructuous, and the trial court erred in persisting with this. Judge Bharat Prashar is now Secretary General of the Supreme Court. Now, I know that when this order came out, a lot of people said, big deal. It is because Dr. Manmohan Singh died, and when somebody dies, the case in any case abates. But it is not that. The CBI had asked for the withdrawal in 2014, 12 years back. So that happened when Dr. Manmohan Singh was very much alive, and even now his counsels have asked the Supreme Court to expunge the adverse remarks that the trial court judge had made. The Supreme Court's order has not yet been uploaded. We'll see when it's uploaded. The anticipation is that most likely, because they've said that there was no scam, most likely they will also expunge, but I can't say, I can't promise it to you. I also can't make a prediction. Now, what exactly was the case? The case was about 2005 allocation of a bunch of coal mines. This is when Dr. Manmohan Singh also concurrently held the charge of the coal ministry. There was a screening committee for coal mine allocation, which initially allocated this Talabira 2 mine, a rich mine, to Neyveli Lignite Corporation, which is a public sector company. Kumar Mangalam Bidla of Aditya Birla Group wrote to the Prime Minister saying that this is injustice and that his company Hindalco should also be included in the bids. Then the government, Manmohan Singh government, reviewed the allocation and they gave the mines to 3 different companies. Neyveli Lignite Corporation, of course, a PSU, a second PSU, Mahanadi Coalfields, and also to Hindalco. The trial court said that this had been done to somehow accommodate Hindalco, and this was a conscious effort on the part of Manmohan Singh government, and this disadvantaged Neyveli Lignite Corporation, which is a public sector company, and as a result, their 2000 megawatt power plant was affected. The case was registered for conspiracy 120B, section 409 of what used to be IPC, which is criminal breach of trust by a government official or a banker, etc., serious offense, and then criminal misconduct under Prevention of Corruption Act. The others charged were then Coal Secretary PC Parakh, Kumar Mangalam Bidla himself, and 2 Hindalco officials. Obviously, all of them have now been discharged. It will be useful at this point for me to also read out what the CBI said in its closure reports. Once again, it's under the Modi government. The CBI said, and I'm reading point 44 from their closure document filed with the court. DSP, that's a CBI DSP KL Moses, recorded statements of a number of officers of Ministry of Coal, beside that of PMO, various officers of Aditya Birla Group, including Sri Kumar Mangalam Bidla himself, were examined during the course of the investigations. However, upon completion of investigation, the investigating agency was of the opinion that no criminal offence was committed by any of the persons involved in the entire process. A closure report dated 27 August 2014 was accordingly filed in the court. Subsequently, the CBI chose to file a revised report dated 21/10/2014, stating it to be detailed and comprehensive in nature, but the final conclusion remained the same, that no offence was committed by any of the persons involved. The case was thus prayed to be closed. This, therefore, buries one of the great so-called scandals of the UPA 2 era. Mind you, there were many cases, in 19 cases at least, convictions are taking place. It was a 1,86,000 crore scam. Let's understand how did the CAG then arrive at these scam figures. The government policy at that point was not to auction either the coal mines or spectrum. The spectrum policy actually was designed by the Vajpayee government in 1999 under NDA 1. This was on the recommendation of Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. This happened because there was a rush for telecom licenses in the mid-90s as the sector opened up, and lots of people spent a lot of money, borrowed a lot of money, lots of non-serious actors came in and they hoarded telecom permits. To avoid that, the next time the Vajpayee government decided not to auction spectrum. The idea was, don't auction spectrum, see who's qualified, give them spectrum, then take a share of the revenues and also a rent on spectrum. The UPA was following the same policy. The notional loss that Vinod Rai talked about was, in case this had been auctioned, government would have got so much money. I had said at that time also, I had written that 1,76,000 crores in 2007 when this took place was $2 billion more than all of India's defense budget. Can the value of this much spectrum, or this much spectrum be more than $2 billion more than even India's defense budget, army, navy, air force, salaries, pensions, everything included? It was just a fanciful figure, plus it was a notional loss. Similarly, government at that point was not auctioning mines. It was allocating mines after the recommendations of a screening committee. So to say that 1,86,000 crore was lost again was a notional, fanciful idea that just in case these coal mines had been auctioned. Then the Supreme Court got involved. That was the season of scams. And Supreme Court then said that henceforth all resources will only be auctioned. So since then, government has been trying to auction spectrum. They've never found any value for 3G, 4G, 5G, rivaling 1,76,000 crores at that point. And similarly, coal mines have been auctioned and many complications have come in. India's coal and mining sector still remains quite unreformed and production is not going up simply because the operators are paying too much money upfront. In fact, if you ask me, the 2G and coal judgments, particularly the judgment saying henceforth all resources will be auctioned, I count this among the 5 Supreme Court judgments most destructive of our economy. Look at the coal judgment, for example. It cancelled every coal mine allocation. In 2014, it cancelled every coal mine allocation done in India since 1993. Since 1993, going that far back. So it's not just Pranab Mukherjee's finance ministry which was changing the law retrospectively. The Supreme Court, in fact, had also done it much more conclusively because a government law can be changed. Ultimately, that retrospective Vodafone law was changed. How do you overturn a Supreme Court order like this? Particularly when the question of corruption comes in. So there was corruption in both cases. There was corruption in coal mine allocation and there was corruption in 2G also. 2G, as Arun Shourie said, the government policy you can fight with. The policy was not to auction spectrum. So you can't say so much money was lost and that was corruption. It was government policy, Vajpayee government's policy, which Manmohan Singh government followed. Manmohan Singh government followed the policy of first come, first served. As Arun Shourie said, all right, you followed the policy of first come, first served, but did the minister follow that? Or did the minister then decide whoever is my favorite will become first and will collect spectrum? And that is what allegedly happened. So there was most likely a scam. There was a scam, but a much smaller scam. A scam like that, a scam of a couple of 100 crores would never have got headlines, would never have fired the Anna movement, would never have destroyed UPA as comprehensively as the idea or widespread belief of these trillion rupee plus scams did. This is also a good time for me to bring back to you something that the judge, the special CBI court judge, O.P. Saini, who was hearing the 2G scam said. Once he rejected the charges and acquitted everybody, in that order he said, and I quote, "I have been waiting for 2 years to see and understand what the scam in these allocations was. But I found none." As a result, everybody accused in the 2G scam was acquitted. Nobody is found at 1,76,000 crores, just as nobody is found at 1,86,000 crores in the so-called coal scam. Just as nobody found it alleged 75,000 crores in CWG scam, and God knows how many lakhs of crores in Delhi airport privatization, others, etc., etc. In many of these, the lead was taken by the CAG of that era. The point is, because the CAG is constitutional authority, you cannot do anything but raise these questions rhetorically and editorially. Now, I had been in argument with this idea of these supposed mega scams and notional losses from the very beginning. I will share a bunch of articles with you. There are many, but at least a few. Aam Aadmi versus Subchor in 2010. These are all national interest articles. That means the Aam Aadmi movement called everybody a chore. So that article was headlined Aam Aadmi versus Subchor 2010, then Coal versus Coalition 2012, then on the victimization of HC Gupta, the former Coal Secretary 2022, who was charged and sometimes convicted, sometimes acquitted on the charge that he caused loss to the exchequer, never a charge that he made even a rupee for himself. There was also a national interest I wrote in 2011, Jantar Chumantar. That's when Anna Hazare was sitting in Jantar Mantar and promising all kinds of magical ideas with Baba Ramdev and others. In 2017, when the 2G scam accused were acquitted, I wrote another one that was headlined, "There was a telecom scandal, a big one, but someone forgot to tell the judges." What I had meant was that the policy was not to sell, the policy was first come, first served, but that was probably followed in breach. But because you did not investigate that, everybody got away. At the same time, if you had investigated just that, it would not have made such humongous headlines. So scam heady was the mood then, and so tempting the zeros that even a newspaper usually as cautious and correct as the Hindu broke what it called the ISRO Devas scam of several lakh crores. Never mind that the spectrum in space is entirely different from telecom and it's available freely in infinity. In fact, I learned more about it when I hosted Kiran Karnik on Walk the Talk, and he said, "What is this scandal? Spectrum in space is free. Anybody can go and take it. No sovereign, no country owns it." And when we last heard, Devas had won $1 billion plus arbitration against the government of India. Then ISRO chief, who had been charged under this scam, he subsequently joined the BJP. The fact is, and now I'm coming to opinion, exaggerating scams makes politicians win elections. Bofors, for example, but the guilty all get away. In most cases, as Kotroke did famously in Bofors, even with the money. Now that the curtain has been drawn on coal scam, we can say that we have seen this sad movie more than once in the past. And we are fated to continue watching sequels and repeats. The VP Singh-led opposition, BJP included then, built Bofors into a monster and India suffered. A fine weapon system was damned, while nobody has as yet been punished or any money recovered. After one crash in Bangalore, 14 February 1990, Rajiv Gandhi's order of Airbus A320s for Indian Airlines was called a scandal, and the planes, still with factory paint and grease on them, were grounded. The flying ban had to be lifted later as the Gulf War. The first Gulf War required tens of thousands of stranded Indians to be airlifted from Kuwait and Iraq. And mind you, these planes would have been needed even if Akshay Kumar was actually there bringing these Indians out as the movie showed. There's been no problem with the planes since, and at this point, nearly 500 of them are flying in Indian skies owned by Indian aviation companies. And nobody guilty of corruption has ever been caught or punished. The Congress, nobody's an angel here. The Congress similarly exaggerated the injustices and inequalities of India shining and became a prisoner of these over an entire decade. It was unable to take credit for economic growth in its own rule. It talks about it now, but not when it was in power. Or its campaign over what was called as Coffin Gate. This is after Kargil. Voters are impressed by multiple zeros, not judges. More the zeros, more the number of votes you might get, and bigger the headlines. Judges want a logical, clear thread of evidence. In modern civilized law, jail terms won't vary whether you were convicted for stealing 10 crores, 10,000 crores, or maybe 1,76,000 crores or 1,86,000 crores. You need to bring evidence, not just popular outrage and angrier hashtags. That is what the Supreme Court has said now, and that's the reason they've drawn curtains on this so-called coal scam and given Dr. Manmohan Singh, poor Dr. Manmohan Singh, vindication two years after his passing.